Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of August 9th, 2026. The theme of this week is the Hunger Games, and there are three big things I'd like you to think about as you navigate this week. The first is that Mercury enters the fire sign of Leo on August 9th through August 25th. Mercury is the planet of communication, transportation, and commerce. We also use it to represent children and young people from childhood to the early 20s-ish. As Mercury leaves the emotional waters of Cancer and enters the bold, dramatic Leo, the tone will shift. Leo is ruled by the sun, which wants to be seen and centered. It seeks recognition, performance, pride, and applause. This is the energy that says, look at me and watch what I can do. The timing is striking as Mercury goes to the 29th degree of Cancer, that last degree of crisis and decay. It forms a quincunx to the North Node at 29 degrees of Aquarius. Quincunxes are adjusting aspects. They're like in our blind spot. And Aquarius is associated with groups, organizations, collective movements, technology, scientific advancement. And the North Node amplifies these themes involving the public in large gatherings. And the North Node is an amplifier. That same day marks the opening of the new Patriot Games. This is the first time this is happening. It's one boy and one girl are going to be sent from each state in the country to compete in Ohio in a nationally televised athletic competition. It's going to air on ESPN a few days later. When I heard about this, it brought to mind the old presidential fitness programs that at some point Arnold Schwarzenegger was involved in. But this one has a more dystopian feeling. That's one of the reasons the episode is titled The Hunger Games. Lots of people thought about that book when they heard about this new thing the administration is launching. And the astrology really matches the theme. Mercury's first aspect after entering Leo is a square to Chiron retrograde in Taurus. They're both at the 0 degree. Chiron exposes wounds around Taurus themes, resources, food, money, agriculture, physical well-being. Mercury rules commerce, so on an everyday level, this could be someone walking into the grocery store and your favorite item is suddenly unavailable because of a shortage or price so high that you stop and ask yourself, is this really worth buying anymore? Something that's ordinary can suddenly, moving from Cancer to Leo, feel like a luxury. And there could be an emotionally charged reaction to this. Leo can get dramatic. On a collective level, I wonder how this aspect will play out through the Patriot Games. Will the competitors speak openly about financial hardships or the challenges their families have faced in interviews? Mercury rules storytelling and interviews and media coverage, so we may hear deeply personal stories about overcoming limited resources or difficult circumstances. Chiron can show up more literally. Taurus rules the physical body and Mercury rules youth. Could there be injuries among the athletes? Could intense heat be part of the story? With Mercury moving into a fire sign, we're adding more fuel to an already fiery sky. Saturn, Neptune, the Sun, and Jupiter are also in fire signs. Logistical problems, such as long entrance lines, transportation delays, water shortages on the premises, or crowd management problems could also fit this Mercury square Chiron symbolism, especially because the president and vice president are expected to attend. So that's going to mean there's extra screening needed. What makes me pay even closer attention to the timing is that the games begin during a balsamic phase leading up to the solar eclipse, this big new beginning. The balsamic moon phase symbolizes endings, hidden developments, and stories that are unfolding behind the scenes before a major turning point. The moon is so close to the sun, it can't be seen due to the size of the sun and how far its rays go out. Now, this doesn't mean something dramatic has to happen, but it does suggest that these games may become more of a larger story. This podcast is supported by tools and practices I use myself. One of those is Solar Fire software. Whether you're an astrology hobbyist just exploring charts, an enthusiastic student, or you have a full professional practice, Solar Fire is such a powerful companion. It doesn't just store charts, it animates them. You can move forward or backward in time and watch transits, progressions, and timing techniques unfold in real motion. I customize chart layouts, keep my client notes organized, and run reports I use all the time. It's deep enough for advanced work, but still approachable when you're learning. You can use my code Celeste15 for 15% off at alabe.com. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that Mars enters Cancer August 11th through September 27th. Mars is the planet of action, drive, courage, conflict, war, assertion, accidents, and energy. Cancer is the sign of Mars's fall, meaning it operates in one of its least comfortable environments. Mars wants to move directly towards a goal, while Cancer is a water sign ruled by the moon, which changes signs every 2.5 days. So Mars is effectively reporting to a different boss every couple of days. And the result is that this energy can be reactive, emotional, and temperamental rather than steady and strategic. Compare Mars and its other signs of dignity to the sign of its fall. In Aries, Mars is the soldier charging into battle, just going for it. In Scorpio, Mars becomes the sniper, patient, calculated, and operating beneath the surface. Those are its two home signs, Aries and Scorpio. In Capricorn, Mars is exalted. It is disciplined, resilient, and willing to endure hardship to accomplish a long-term objective. Mars in Cancer, by contrast, is fighting to protect home, family, and emotional security. As soon as Mars changes signs, you can begin to notice the themes. Mars is a great timer to watch how astrology works. So watch the house in your chart that Mars is entering, because that's where the conflict, activity, and momentum are likely to appear. Sometimes it's quite literal. You might find yourself irritated with a family member. Maybe you accidentally drop a dish in the kitchen or have a plumbing issue around the house. If Mars is moving through your 11th house, perhaps a friend tells you about a conflict within their family. And as soon as Mars enters Cancer, it will square Neptune retrograde in Aries. Mars-Neptune aspects can coincide with ideological battles, misinformation, covert operations, and it has holy war symbolism. Cancer also has strong associations with homeland, borders, family, ancestry, and immigration. So I expect we'll see a lot of stories about migration, national identity, and border disputes or conflicts over who belongs and who doesn't. One story I'm watching closely because it's one of the biggest stories of this eclipse season is what's happening in Ceuta, the Spanish territory on the North African coast, where something like 60,000 migrants from Morocco crossed into the territory. Obviously, a movement of that scale did not happen spontaneously. Events involving that many people require organization, coordination, and political decisions behind the scenes. There's video of the men being dropped off and directed on what to do. Last week's theme was Deep Throat, and one of the stories is about the whistleblower from Watergate. Congressman Thomas Massie alerted people that the House passed a bill that greenlit the transfer of this territory to Morocco. So Spain and the U.S. are in a conflict because Spain would not let their bases be used for the Iran war. I expect additional things to come to light. This event is an eclipse season event. Spain is experiencing a total eclipse on August 12th. So pay attention to stories of new starts around the solar eclipse related to this event, around tightening borders. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that we have a solar eclipse at 20 degrees of Leo on August 12th. Leo is a fire sign. It's dramatic, proud, ambitious, creative, romantic, and dignified. People with strong Leo energy can be very generous and self-assured, magnetic. Think about how the sun rules Leo, and all of the planets revolve around the sun. On a shadow side, people with strong Leo energy can be very vain, childish, status conscious, overbearing, boastful, exhibitionist, conceited, or dominating. Solar eclipses bring new beginnings. I like to describe them as you walk through a door and turn around and there's a wall. There's no going back. You're pulled forward into a new story. And you can think about, if you were alive at these times, the eclipses belong to a Saros series that has a similar nature to it. So think about 1954, 1972, 1990, and 2008. These were all years where there were eclipses in the 10S Saros series. Bernadette Brady has delineated all of these, and this eclipse family relates to breaking out of a negative situation where no hope can be seen into a much more positive space filled with options. Worries can clear and a new path becomes visible. I describe this energy as the gate swings open. So if you felt trapped or stuck, especially if you have planets around 20 degrees Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, or Scorpio, this eclipse may create movement where there had been none. Think about all these men from Morocco who thought they were rushing towards this great new life. They were being misled. Now, almost all of them went back, but a few of them haven't. And some of them may be able to start new lives in Ceuta or in Spain. And if so, the ones who get through likely have important placements in their natal chart around 20 degrees of Leo specifically, or another fixed sign. Leo eclipses have long been associated with leadership changes, the fall of kings. Leo rules celebrity, royalty, or other people who have placed themselves on a pedestal and think they are above it all. Leo represents confidence, creativity, and healthy pride, but its shadow can be arrogance, entitlement, and the belief that the rules don't apply to you. This eclipse may expose where ego has become inflated, both personally and collectively. There's a big uproar in the astrology community about Stephen Forrest, one of the premier leaders of evolutionary astrology. I have like 6 of his books. And during a discussion with Ricky Williams, who's a Black man, they were talking about shadows, but he dropped the N-word, and he did not need to. And he said the N-word, the N-word, the N-word, and then he said the word. And people in the astrology community are outraged about it and calling for him to face some consequences. So we shall see what happens with that, but it's very much in line with the South Node moving through the sign of Leo and the potential for the fall of kings. Both Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are Leo rising, so this eclipse is falling in their first house of their physical vitality, how other people see them, and identity. And later in the week, when Mercury and Jupiter meet at 10 degrees of Leo, that falls on J.D. Vance's sun and Donald Trump's Pluto. So whether that brings a major announcement, a legal development, or just a big media moment will remain to be seen. Maybe it all happens behind the scenes, but there's something big going to happen between them potentially, or about them, with them being eclipsed and having that conjunction so prominently on their synastry. And this Mars in Cancer square Neptune of Aries is a big part of this eclipse. There you will see people with having ideological conflicts, competing narratives, questions about patriotism, homeland, and identity. Leo is also strongly connected with pride, honor, leadership, and legacy. Another person I'm watching is Ariana Grande. Public concern about her health has continued to grow because of her dramatic weight loss. Astrologically, her Chiron is at 21 degrees of Leo, so it is being eclipsed, and it forms a square to her Venus at 20 degrees of Taurus. So for her, there's a highlighting of themes of self-worth, body image, and healing. She's taking a step back from the public after all of the commentary. So hopefully stepping back from the spotlight will help her get the support and care she may need. Financial markets are another area worth watching. Astrologer Judith Hill has an amazing book about eclipses, and she has observed that Leo eclipses can coincide with significant stock market swings. And if you notice the dates, the last Sero series in this cycle was 2008, when the global financial crisis unfolded. That doesn't mean history is going to repeat exactly, but it could rhyme. And the U.S. debt has been in the news lately. The annual interest payments on the U.S. national debt have recently exceeded annual defense spending. So there's big concern about this spiraling debt crisis. To know personally how this is going to show up for you, look to the house in your natal chart where 20 degrees of Leo falls. That's where a new chapter is beginning, although it may first require releasing something that has outlived its purpose. South Node eclipses often ask us to let go before we can move forward. So there may be ego checks, changes in identity, or movements that remind us why humility matters. Leo rules the heart and the upper back. So just be careful about, overtaxing yourself physically if it's impacting your chart. So think about if you get any opportunities or new starts, especially if it allows you to shine. Regarding the moon phase family, we have the solar eclipse where the sun and the moon are both at 20 Leo, August 12th, 2026. So this is the initiation point where some new story could be starting for you that has pivot points every 9 months for 27 months. The first quarter moon, 9 months from now, where the sun is in Taurus and the moon is in Leo, they're both at 22 degrees on May 12th, 2027. Right around that point, if something initiates now, there could be a turning point, a course correction, some additional activity about the same topic. 9 months after that, there'll be a full moon where the sun is in Aquarius and the moon is in Leo, both at 21 degrees on February 10th, 2028. There may be some culmination of the story, but it's not over yet. 9 months after that, with the sun in Scorpio and the moon in Leo, both at 18 degrees, on November 9th, 2028. The last quarter moon is when lessons are learned. We start to wrap up the story and release some things. So notice if there's a story, give 2 weeks on either side. And this week's theme is the Hunger Games, inspired by the best-selling novel by Suzanne Collins. In this story, the nation of Panem is divided into districts that send one boy and one girl known as tributes to the capital to compete in a televised fight to the death. The games serve as both entertainment for the wealthy capital and a powerful reminder of the government's control over the population. At its core, the story explores power, propaganda, inequality, and spectacle. When I learned about the new Patriot Games, it immediately reminded me of the Hunger Games. Now, I'm not suggesting the events are equivalent, but the symbolism is really loud. And with Mercury entering Leo, the sign of performance, competition, and spectacle, the symbolism is especially striking. Another reason this title feels appropriate is that the ongoing war in Iran continues to create concerns about supply chains, agriculture, and access to key resources. Food security is a key issue in many parts of the world, and disruptions to crops, fertilizers, shipping routes, or agriculture production is going to ripple through the global economy. Water security is another theme worth watching, with Mars in Cancer squaring Neptune in Aries. There were recent reports of attempted cyber attacks targeting water infrastructure in multiple states, and essential systems remain vulnerable. So it's a good idea to think about your emergency preparedness. Do you have a supply of drinking water in case there was an emergency, and other essentials? One of my greatest pleasures is mentoring astrology enthusiasts and professionals who want to deepen their craft. If you're building your skills or refining your approach, we can work together one-on-one to strengthen your chart interpretation, timing techniques, client readiness, and your confidence in putting it all together. You can schedule a single session or choose a mentoring package for ongoing guidance. Details are at astrologybyceleste.com on the services page. On Sunday, the word of the day is tribute. The moon enters Cancer at 12:45 a.m. Pacific time. Cancer is a sign of home, family, foundations. The moon is in its home sign, where it can do what it does with ease, which is feel and emote and intuitive. And the balsamic moon starts at 1 degree of Cancer at 3:49 a.m. Pacific time. Balsamic moons are the last phase of the moon cycle, where the moon is emptying out the rest of her light, and the sun is in Leo and the moon is in Cancer, so they're both in their home signs. They're both at dignity. So think about how this is the day that Patriot Games start. The president and the vice president, the leaders will be there. The sun and the moon are both in their home signs. It's a great time to do a tarot reading or oracle card spread for yourself to get insight and guidance. This is the day Mercury in Cancer is quincunx the North Node in Aquarius at 29 degrees, very aligned with the Patriot Games starting on this day. And the moon will square Neptune retrograde at 4 degrees. So the propaganda that we're going to be seeing, Neptune rules propaganda, for the nation is intended to increase national pride. Mercury enters Leo at 9:28 a.m. Pacific time, and this gives me the image of each of the two from each state walking out and being introduced. And then Mercury and Leo will square Chiron retrograde in Taurus on the same day. Now, Cancer and Leo can amplify tribalism. Cancer asks, who is my family? Who belongs? Leo asks, who are we proud to be? So together they can strengthen one's nation's heritage, culture, or community, but also intensify an us versus them mentality. At the highest expression, these signs can inspire people to protect their loved ones, celebrate their roots, and lead with heart. Now, I'm sure we're also going to see a lot of snark about these events. I hope people remember these are children. On Monday, the word of the day is sacrifice. The Cancer moon squares Saturn retrograde in Aries at 14 degrees. There's themes of pressure and constriction. And Venus in Libra first makes a trine to Pluto retrograde at 3 degrees of Aquarius, and then opposes Neptune retrograde at 4 degrees of Aries. So this is an important day for relationships. At its highest, these aspects with Venus can reflect transformation, compassion, forgiveness, and charity, and selfless love. Now, on the shadow, it can manifest as martyrdom, disillusionment, misplaced trust, or sacrificing too much for an ideal, a relationship, or a cause. So just pay attention to how this shows up in the collective as well as in your own life. You may just be hearing someone talking about all the sacrifices they make for love. It brings that song, What I Did for Love, to mind. Mars in Gemini trines the North Node in Aquarius, both at 29 degrees. This speaks to the competition between a group of people we may see on TV, like a parliament somewhere in the world, being very animated, or people throwing things or duking it out somewhere. On Tuesday, the word of the day is defense. Mars enters Cancer at 1:30 a.m. What's interesting is that the moon is at 29 degrees of Cancer at the same time. So Mars, the defense is needed because there's something about crisis and decay in the homeland. So this could be someone finds a leak and is on the phone to call the plumber to come in and fix it. The Leo moon begins at 1:37 a.m. Pacific time. And as soon as the moon moves into Leo, this fire sign that is dramatic, dynamic, proud, warm, it squares Chiron at 0 degrees and opposes Mercury at 3 degrees, then opposes Pluto retrograde at 3 degrees. So this could show up as just intense heat that people are experiencing, or fire. It also could be emotions are flaring on this day. So this is a good day to watch out for being defensive. Remember, pride goeth before the fall. And with the eclipse, people can walk through a door they meant not to, and then boom, you can't come back through. The moon and Jupiter meet at 9 degrees of Leo. Jupiter amplifies everything. It makes things bigger. Now, it may be that you are just so proud of yourself, your child, your spouse, a friend, whoever, that your heart feels like it's going to bust. Mercury in Leo opposes Pluto retrograde at 3 degrees of Aquarius on this day. There are going to be an increase in heart attacks, most likely, because Leo rules the heart, Aquarius rules the circulatory system, and Pluto represents blockages or a crisis. And so this could be someone saying, call the doctor on this day. So if anything is going on or anybody looks funny, this is not a time to play around or we'll see what's going on tomorrow. This is a time to, if you're concerned, get to the doctor. Mercury trines Neptune retrograde at 4 degrees. This can be like, I'm feeling a little weak. Venus in Libra trines Uranus retrograde in Gemini, both at 5 degrees. Now, Venus trine Uranus, this could be like someone's heart is pounding so loudly because they want to ask someone out on a date. Some people are going to be meeting someone special. This is a great time to get a lottery ticket. You can get surprise, nice news. Uranus can be very positive news or not. It's a sudden, unexpected disruption could be happening in some people's love lives, their relationships, in the art world, celebrity world. On Wednesday, the word of the day is awareness. This is the day of the solar eclipse. But first, Mars in Cancer sextiles Chiron retrograde in Taurus, both at 0 degrees. A wound could be revealed or healed or just feels very sensitive. People may be acting out of emotions. Then the asteroid Ceres enters Cancer at 7:53 a.m. Pacific time. Ceres was the goddess of the grain that has associations with nurturing. There could be big news around fertilizer or just food supply issues. And then we have a solar eclipse at 20 Leo at 10:36 a.m. Pacific time. And Mercury in Leo sextiles Uranus in Gemini at 5 degrees of each of the signs. This can be unexpected news is announced. And I think it may have to do with food because Ceres, after she enters Cancer, she starts to square Neptune retrograde and then later Saturn retrograde in Aries. So what is going on with the food supply or food production because of the war? On Thursday, the word of the day is fated. And the Leo moon meets the south node in Leo at 29 degrees for the first time in almost 18 years. This could be a deep let go. So notice if someone is acting extremely dramatic or just letting everything out. It could be someone telling you about, oh my God, I met this person at the grocery store. They're so good looking. We have a date next Friday. It could be very joyful, playful, wonderful news. Or it could be around health because the moon enters Virgo at 3:17 a.m. Pacific time, right after. Virgo's job is to bring order to chaos, and it's a great time to get organized. This will be if some big announcement has happened, people are doing their research, trying to figure out how it impacts them, trying to figure out what systems are still available to help them get what they need. Mercury in Leo will sextile Venus in Libra at 6 degrees. This could be a chance meeting that change is your life. For some people whose charts are activated, it could be about a job, a relationship. You know, I love a love story. So somebody is reaching for the kumquat in the grocery store and someone else is too. Their hands touch, their eyes meet. Someone says hello and they are off to the races. You can change your life with a smile and a hello. The Virgo moon squares Uranus in Gemini at 5 degrees. There is excitement and fluttering in the stomach. So can you let go of your pride and just take the risk to say hello to someone who you want to meet? Whether it's for advancement of your career, calling the doctor to talk about your health, or meeting a sexy stranger. On Friday, the word is pageantry. The Virgo moon makes a hammer of Thor. First, it sesquisquares Chiron retrograde at 0 Taurus, and then Pluto retrograde at 3 Aquarius. And Pluto and Chiron are in square. There is tension. There is a crisis around Virgo topics, which could be farmland, systems, health. The day Chiron stationed retrograde, 2 people in Michigan, it was announced, had died from this parasite that causes people to have explosive diarrhea. On Saturday, the word of the day is fanfare. Celebrate, the song was playing in my head by Kool and the Gang. There may be some big announcements. Mercury and Jupiter are meeting at 10 degrees of Leo. And this is conjunct J.D. Vance's Sun and Donald Trump's Pluto. And Mercury and Jupiter are both combust. They're hidden beneath the rays of the sun. So there's themes of weakness. Now, people are in the mood to gather together and maybe have a lot of joyful, fun energy. We'll see if there's a story about the president and the vice president on this day. It may all happen behind the scenes. The Libra moon starts at 7:19 a.m. Pacific time. Libra rules justice, art, culture. It's the scales. What is being balanced is something to think about. Or how can you bring more balance into your life? There could be some big news on Sunday. So it's going to be a big week. I hope you get some joyful or pleasurable things with this solar eclipse in Leo, that it brings you some new starts that you can be excited about. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology in action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.